Hi, I'm Josh Elliott, the guy who reviews movies that nobody else cared to see. So I've been catching up on Oscar nominations recently. One that I never quite got around to seeing was The Florida Project, because it never actually came to a theater near me. Then it came on Apple TV, but I could only buy it, so I had to wait for it to be available for rent, and it now is. And so last night, I saw it. Willem Dafoe is nominated for Best Supporting Actor for this movie. This movie is getting major critical acclaim. It has like 96% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yeah, it deserves that. It's really good. It's a really freaking good movie. The Florida Project tells the story of a young girl named Mooney who lives with her young single mom in a motel right outside Disney World. And it basically just tells the story of their life in this motel. Willem Dafoe is the manager of the hotel. It's just a very profound experience about what it's like to live in poverty. It also just has such a childlike playfulness to it. I've never seen a Sean Baker movie before. He did Tangerine, which is on Netflix. I need to get around to seeing that. But he seems to like telling stories about people that nobody really thinks to tell stories about. Usually when you think of a story about poverty, you think like Great Depression levels poverty, like really poor. But this movie takes a very realistic approach to it. Money-wise, they're not doing good, but emotionally, they're pretty much fine. This girl, Mooney, she doesn't care that she's poor. She makes the best out of every single situation she's in. She lives in this kind of crummy motel, but to her and her friends, it's a castle that they can play on. Even though they are very irresponsible kids and they do some really bad things in this movie, it has a sweet innocence to it. You get to experience how they view these situations that adults would view otherwise. The movie's also shot beautifully, great cinematography, although I think a lot of that is due to just the color of the sets and the costumes itself. It's a very bright and colorful movie. Ironically, this movie is called The Florida Project because that was the original name for Disney World when they were working on it, and this movie takes place right outside Disney World, which is funny symbolism considering it's about a group of kids living their lives in poverty right outside the happiest place in the entire world for kids. Mooney is not by definition a good kid. She does make very irresponsible decisions. She calls people bad words, but that's how she's been raised. She doesn't really know any better, so that later on in the movie when people try to force her into situations that will genuinely help her, she rejects that because that's not what she knows. She is perfectly fine where she is. It's a reminder of how delicately we need to deal with children, but really just anyone in this social class or this situation. The mom, whose name I can't remember, but she's really, really good. She has actually never done acting before. They cast her in the movie based on something she posted on Instagram. They liked her personality, so they cast her in a movie. They definitely cast it well because her personality fits the role so well. She just has this carelessness that's so believable. I loved her performance. Willem Dafoe also plays the perfect fatherly figure. He has this fascinating relationship with the kids. He lets them do whatever they want to do, so they respect him because of that, but sometimes they do take it too far, and then he has to kick them out, and then they argue and bicker. He also has this great moment where he protects the kids from a man who was most likely a pedophile about to abduct one of them. I loved his performance. He was so human. It probably sounds like I love this movie. I liked it a lot, but it's too long. I know I sound like a hypocrite because just a couple reviews ago, I was praising Call Me By Your Name for its length and how it took its time and how even though a lot of the scenes didn't matter, I still liked that they were there. And The Florida Project does the same thing, but I'm criticizing it. The difference is Call Me By Your Name was building to something. The Florida Project isn't. It's just kind of an analysis of these people's lives, and it's very fascinating. I loved watching it, but time moved very slowly in this movie. It would feel like 20 minutes had gone by, and I look at my phone and see that it had only been 10. That's not a very good feeling you want to have in a movie, feeling like it's just never going to end or that it's not building to anything. It ultimately does build to something, and it's a beautiful ending. The ending made me cry, but there's no real story that leads up to it. So I think this would have been better if it was just an hour and a half as opposed to 2 hours. So overall, The Florida Project is a great movie. It talks about a social class that is so commonly rejected by society, but also by movies as well. Like, Sean Baker told a story about a group of people that nobody would really think to tell a story about. It sympathizes with them in ways you wouldn't expect. It's very human. All of the actors are so natural in their performances. Brooklyn Prince, oh my gosh, she is amazing. She's 7 years old. She carries this entire movie. She's awesome. It does have its flaws, mainly in its length, but overall, The Florida Project has this profound, innocent look at what it's like to live under these conditions. So I'm gonna give it an 8. So, what did you think of The Florida Project if you saw it? Please comment below to let me know. Click here to subscribe and click here to watch our last video. Thank you guys for watching.